Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and as always, it is an honor and a privilege that you guys will be spending part of your day here with me and the rest of your fellow movie and entertainment fans talking about all of our favorite things as my voice is going on me. Anyway, watching Thor last night, watching the new Star Wars trailer last night, I might have lost my voice a little bit. So greetings and thanks for being here today, guys. This show, if you're watching this a little bit later on, is being done live here on Tuesday morning. A special hello to all you guys who are in there in the chat board right now. Here's how today's show is going to go. I got a couple things I want to talk about in the world of movie and entertainment news. And then after that, I'm going to go to the main part of the show, which is taking questions and topics that you guys send in to me. How do you send a topic or a question to me? It's simple. You just email me anytime at John at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. And this is important, guys. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line of your email. And of course, keep your email to 90 words or less. If it's any longer than that, I can't read it and I wouldn't be able to fit it on the screen anyway. Then, near the end of the show, I'm going to save a few minutes to take some live questions from those of you guys who are watching the show live. How do you get a live question on? Just tweet to me. And make sure you guys are following me on Twitter, by the way. Follow me at John Campea. Then just tweet out to me, starting your tweet with at John Campea and put in your question. And I'll get through as many as I can near the end of the show. And we'll see just how many we can get through. Now, it's not on the list of topics, but I will mention this. I did get to go see Thor Ragnarok last night. There is, and if any, did you guys see that video? I'm very proud of the video I put up yesterday, actually. There's that video I put up yesterday on review embargoes, what they are, and why studios use them. Anyway, I talk in that video about how there are really two different types of review embargoes now. There's the regular review embargo, but then there's also the social media embargo. Last night, saw Thor Ragnarok. There is a review embargo that comes up on October 19th. That's when we can release our actual reviews, is on October 19th, 2 full weeks before the movie comes out. But Marvel did say that we were allowed to give a social media reaction. So I cannot give you a review of the film, but I will tell you exactly what I wrote on social media. If I can find, because I had it and now I lost it, if I can find what I wrote on social media, and here it is. Okay, this is exactly what I tweeted last night about Thor Ragnarok. I cannot elaborate on it. The review embargoes to the 19th, but I will at least tell you what I wrote. I wrote this. Thor Ragnarok is relentlessly entertaining. Truly a Taika Waititi film. Not on my top 10 comic book movies of all time list, but another solid MCU chapter. So you can draw what you want from that tweet of mine. As it turns out, it kind of looks like I might have been the one who liked it less than most people, because if you read tweets, now I'm talking about other people's tweets, not my own opinion. If you read a lot of other tweets, the tweets for this thing coming out of the people who've seen the movie have been glowing. So anyway, that's as much as I can say. I'll repeat it one more time. Thor Ragnarok is relentlessly entertaining, truly a Taika Waititi film. Not on my top 10 all-time comic book films list, but a solid chapter in the MCU. Okay. So that's my thoughts and all the thoughts I can give on Thor Ragnarok until October 19th. Make sure you check back then for my actual review. But a little something else dropped last night, and I was actually torn. Do I go to watch Thor Ragnarok, or do I stay home just to watch the Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer? I decided watching a full movie was probably more important, so I went to go do that. Watch the trailer when I got home. And of course, yeah, there it is. That's the first topic of the day, guys. Star Wars The Last Jedi has dropped its brand new trailer. Came online last night, I think right about or just before 7 o'clock. The new trailer dropped Pacific Standard Time, that is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And wow. I mean, just wow. What I love about this trailer, and I've got several things that I like quite a bit about the trailer, but let me focus on this one aspect for a moment, is that one of the things that we've been hearing from a lot of the people, but we heard this at Star Wars Celebration, and we've been hearing it in interviews with Kathleen Kennedy, and we've been hearing it all over the place, is that this movie has a unique DNA amongst all the Star Wars films. It's very much a very unique Star Wars film that very much has its own identity and stands on its own, completely tied in, obviously, with the wider Star Wars universe. Yes, obviously. But they just kept on repeating and saying the true individuality of this film, the true uniqueness of this particular Star Wars movie amongst all the other Star Wars movies. And if nothing else, from that trailer last night, I sensed that. Like, it truly felt Star Wars, yet it truly felt like none of the other Star Wars films we had ever seen before. And there are so many intriguing things in it. First of all, oh my God, Luke spoke. Okay, we only had to wait 2 years, but Luke spoke. So that's cool. Obviously, he's alluding to Rey's power. Now, at least the trailer said, see, the trailer might be playing a trick on us. Because there's that part in the trailer, right, guys, where he's like, I've only seen power like this one time before. I don't know why suddenly Luke Skywalker sounds like Batman. I've only seen power like this one time before. And it didn't scare me then, but it scares me now. I assume he's talking about Rey. I assume he's talking about power that Rey is exhibiting, but who knows? Maybe that's a little bit of Star Wars trickery. Maybe he's talking about something else. Could be. Just like at the beginning of the trailer, we hear Snoke, I saw raw, uninhibited potential and power. Again, Snoke sounds like Batman too in the movie. In case you didn't know, spoiler alert. And potential, and yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? I assume he's talking to Kylo Ren. I assume. But this could be a matter of a little bit of trailer trickery. Maybe he's talking to Rey. Maybe he's talking to Luke. Maybe he's talking... I mean, I don't know. Maybe Snoke is actually Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, he's not. Anyway, who knows who he's talking to? Maybe he's talking to Leia. Maybe, but our assumption is he's talking to Kylo Ren. That's the most likely scenario. That Luke is talking to Rey. That's the most likely scenario. But there is potential in there for some trickery. That whole statement, too, about Luke talking about, I've only seen raw power like this once before. Again, making an assumption. I'm assuming Luke is talking about Kylo Ren. That he saw this pure, untapped power in Kylo Ren and didn't fear it, and now he's regretting that he didn't fear it. Maybe he's thinking he should have feared it. Maybe now he's talking about Rey. We get the whole thing about, I mean, when we see Finn dressed in black, that looked pretty cool. That looked great. Seeing Finn, I want to see this fight between Finn and Phasma, especially now since I've read the Phasma book. By the way, I actually think there's a couple of Star Wars novels out right now. The new Leia by Claudia Gray, the same woman who wrote Lost Stars, which is awesome, and Bloodline, which is awesome. So she wrote the Leia novel. And that's the novel that seems to be getting all the press, is the Leia novel. Honestly, and I like the Leia novel. I like it. But the Phasma novel, I think, is much better than the Leia novel. Anyway, the Phasma novel, after reading that, gives me a lot more background on Phasma. And now seeing her going into a fight with Finn, and Finn's got that same crowd control stick that T8R fought him with. And that wasn't his real name. But it looked great. That looked fantastic to me. The one thing that they put in this trailer, and I have not talked to anybody about this trailer yet, so tell me, guys, if you agree with me or tell me if you disagree. It's all good. The one thing I did not like about the trailer is that they showed that scene of apparently Kylo also inherited the piloting skills of his grandfather. And there's this big space battle going on, and I guess he's got targeted in on the bridge of Leia's ship, and it puts his thumb on the button. I kind of wish they didn't show that. That seems like a real pivotal, dramatic, important movie, like turning point of the movie. Now, they don't show us what he does. I'm assuming he doesn't pull the trigger, but they don't show us what he does. But still, that is the one shot. I was fine with every other shot they showed us in that trailer. I was fine with, the Chewbacca and the Porg. I was fine with everything we saw from Poe. I was fine with everything we saw with Luke and Rey. I even didn't mind that scene between Rey and Kylo. I heard some people complaining online that they wish they didn't see that scene between Rey and Kylo when Rey's going, I need somebody to show me my place in all of this, and Kylo reaches out his hand. To me, that is still surrounded in a million different questions. There's a million different possibilities for that scene, so it doesn't really spoil anything for me. If Kylo either pulls the trigger or he doesn't pull the trigger, there's only two possible outcomes of that scene. And so I've watched that and I'm like, I kind of wish they didn't show us that. It looks great. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic moment in the movie. But still, I'm sitting there and going, I wish I hadn't seen that. It's the only time in The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and now this, The Last Jedi, that I've thought in any of the marketing that I thought, I wish they hadn't shown me that. So that's the one thing. And I can't help but wonder if when Rian Johnson said, if you want to go into Star Wars The Last Jedi totally 100% clean, don't watch the trailer. I can't help but wonder if that's the scene he's talking about. And by the way, quick side note on that, okay? A lot of people were talking yesterday about how, John, did you hear that Rian Johnson said don't watch the trailer? No, he did not. That is not what Rian Johnson said. Right, put it into proper context. What Rian Johnson actually said was, and Rian Johnson hopped on Twitter to correct people himself. He said, no, what I said was, if you want to go into The Last Jedi 100% clean, then maybe don't watch the trailer. But the trailer's awesome. There's a big difference between saying, hey, if you want to go into a movie 100% clean, don't watch the trailer, and don't watch the trailer. Those are two totally different statements that mean totally different things. So I had a lot of people writing, even on the live show yesterday, a lot of people writing on the live show yesterday saying, John, what do you think about Rian Johnson saying don't watch the trailer? He didn't say don't watch the trailer. So people were asking me that on the show, and then I went and read his actual statement, what he actually said, and I'm like, oh, that's totally different. But anyway, let's get back to the Star Wars trailer for a second. I thought Luke looked great. I love the way he's acting. He's a little, I'm getting the sense he's a little bit crazy. Maybe being off on his own and alone and so powerful in the Force, maybe he's going a little bit crazy, which I think would be really cool if he does. I was kind of hoping to hear some dialogue from Leia. That's the one thing, well, two things that weren't in the trailer that I wish were in the trailer. Number one is I wish we had heard some dialogue from Leia. That I think would have been great. I would have been very, very happy with that. Obviously, you see her very clearly in the trailer, but I do wish we would have heard some dialogue from her. Maybe they want to keep that under wraps. The second thing is obvious, the big one. I wanted to see Luke lighten up a lightsaber and slashing down some fools. I wanted to see Luke schooling some fools. I've never hid that. That's what I wanted to see in this trailer. We didn't get it. Still, overall, great trailer. I liked it very much. I don't think it's my number one trailer of the year. I don't even think it's in my top 3, but it's definitely a very good, very solid trailer. Got me excited, got my blood pumping. Can't wait to see this movie. We're 2 months away. We are 2 months away from this movie coming out. I couldn't be more excited about it. So, yeah, guys, let me know in the comments section. What do you guys think? What did you think of this trailer? And by the way, let me throw this in here too, since we're talking about it. It is Tuesday, which means today, a little bit later this afternoon, is Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. It's going to be coming up at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to do live today just for fun. And if you've got a question for Star Wars Talk Tuesday that you want to get on the show, email me at the same email address. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Once again, that's john@thejohncampeashow.com. And make sure you put in the subject line SWTT, that's Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. So once again, if you want to get a question on the John Campea Star Wars Talk Tuesday show a little bit later this afternoon, write in John@thejohncampeashow, put SWTT in the subject line, and maybe you'll see yours there. And once again, I'll be doing a live, so maybe you guys can come back and join me live for that as well. All right. I'm sure we're going to be talking some more Star Wars once we get near the end of the show. So I'll hold off on the rest of my Star Wars thought because I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be firing in comments who are watching live about it. So I'm sure we'll get to more Star Wars in just a little bit. All right, let's move on. Already halfway through the show, and we've only covered the one major topic. So let's fly through the next bunch. The next thing of news that came up that I found extremely interesting was that the worst kept secret, it's now official. Sylvester Stallone, Ryan Coogler is not coming back to direct Creed 2. Sylvester Stallone himself, it's official. He put up on Instagram last night, or yesterday I should say, that he is directing Creed 2. And I'm going to tell you this. Like everybody else, my first choice for Creed 2 to be directed by somebody was for Ryan Coogler to come back. Obviously, Ryan Coogler's a little busy right now. He's still working on Black Panther. They're in post-production now, and he's working very hard on that. And I'm sure the pre-production, all the things a director needs to do on a movie for Creed 2 have already been underway for months. Like, a director's job doesn't start once they start shooting the movie. The director's job starts months before that. So Coogler's working on Black Panther. Stallone has clearly been working on this movie, Creed 2, for quite some time. So Ryan Coogler was clearly my first choice. I loved the first Creed movie. But I will say this. If you came to me and said, you know, who would the next optimum choice be, I would have said Sylvester Stallone. Nobody knows this Rocky Balboa universe better than Sylvester Stallone. He directed Rocky 2, 3, and 4. He directed Rocky Balboa, the last Rocky film, which I'll still be honest with you. I think Rocky Balboa was even better than Creed. And I love Creed. But I thought Rocky Balboa, that last one he did, it ain't about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Like, that movie was awesome. I love that Rocky Balboa movie. And he's obviously directed some other things as well. He's a very capable director, especially when it comes to the Rocky franchise. So, yes, my first choice would have been Ryan Coogler. However, if I understand right, and I read some of Stallone's statements properly, him and Coogler are still working together. They're still talking and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure when they were making Creed, I'm sure Coogler was, you know, collaborating with Stallone. I'm sure Stallone had a lot of input. I mean, he basically owns the Rocky franchise, so of course he had input. But so I think this is perfectly good. Some people I'm reading are panicking a little bit that Coogler isn't coming back. Honestly, if Coogler can't be back, I think it's in very, very good hands with this guy. I think Stallone will do a great job on it, just like he did a great job on Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, and Rocky Balboa. So, anyway, sorry guys, I'm having to keep clearing my throat here. By the way, Hulk, so good in Thor Ragnarok. Anyway, I can't say anymore. I shouldn't have even said that. Anyway, okay, let's move on now to the actual questions that you guys have sent in to me, and we'll start off with the first question of the day. And the first question today gets sent in from Sergio Bustamante, who writes, "Hey, I'm a big fan. Thank you so much, Sergio. My question is, do you ever think Disney could consider making a Clone Wars live-action spin-off movie?" Well, look, I am a little bit in the minority, not hugely in the minority, but I'm a little bit in the minority amongst Star Wars fans when it comes to Clone Wars. I'm not a fan of Clone Wars. Don't get me wrong. There were certainly some seasons were better than others and some episodes were better than others. But overall, you know, for instance, I'll never catch myself on a free Saturday afternoon sitting down and popping in Clone Wars. Like, I'm not a big Clone Wars fan. Not to say that nobody else should be. If you're a Clone Wars fan, that's awesome. And a lot of Star Wars fans are. But, you know, I don't think many people comparatively, and we're talking on a regular grand scale, not a lot of people watch Clone Wars. I mean, everybody that you know may have watched Clone Wars, but in terms of wider scope, mass scale, I don't think a lot of people have. Plus, I don't think Star Wars is anxious to revisit, on film at any rate, the prequel era. I really don't think they are. I think they want to move past the prequels. They want to leave that behind. One of the, you know, you've heard me say this before. One of the reasons I believe they made The Force Awakens the way they did was to get people over and get them past the prequels. And I really believe that. That doesn't mean you're never going to hear anything referenced or mentioned that also happened to be in the prequels. I mean, yeah, sure, absolutely. You absolutely can. But I think as a whole, I don't think you're going to want to see Lucasfilm go back and do a full movie that takes place in that Clone War or in that prequel era. I just don't think they will. Now, I'm not trying to start the whole argument again about are the prequels great or are they garbage. You all know what my position is, and if your position is opposite, that's awesome. I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm just saying, from my understanding and from the people I've talked to, Lucasfilm is not anxious to go back to that era. So I would have to say no. But maybe you wish they would. Jump in the comment section and let me know. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from one of my Patreon supporters, Will Roos. And Will Roos writes, What are your thoughts on the dying format of 3D in theaters? I personally want 3D to stay, but many of my friends and family prefer 2D as it is cheaper during the holidays and glasses can bother some children. What are your thoughts on 3D? Do you prefer it? And when do you think studios will drop this format entirely due to declining 3D ticket sales? Well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And I want to mention right off the top here, this question comes to me from one of my Patreon supporters. Let me take a quick commercial break and shamelessly plug my Patreon. This channel, as you guys know, you hear me say it every day, I no longer work for corporate overlords. I decided to leave the corporate world and not do this for corporations calling the shots. Doing that meant I needed some help, and my Patreon supporters are the ones who make this show and all the videos I do possible. I cannot do anything of what I do here without my Patreon supporters. My Patreon supporters, you can head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. See all the information there about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, all the benefits of being a Patreon supporter. Go check that out, and maybe you'll want to become one of the Patreon supporters, and if not, that is perfectly fine. I'm just glad you guys are here watching the show with us. All right, now let's get back to the question. 3D, I believe, is a blight on cinema. I hate 3D. I've always hated 3D. I think 3D is such a wasted gimmick that it's just preposterous. It's just terrible. Now, I've had some debates with people say, oh, John, you just don't like 3D because you don't like new technology. No, no, no. I love new technology. But I love new technology that practically impacts the movie-going experience. Like the new digital Dolby that they have in AMC Prime theaters with this dual laser projection system that gives you the deepest blacks and the richest colors you have ever seen. I love that. Advanced technology. The new Atmos surround that you get for sound systems in theaters. Love advancements in technology. Advancement in technology is my jam. I love technology. Tech is one of my big things. So I'm very big on that. But gimmicks just for the sake of gimmicks, I don't get. Here's the thing that's always got me about 3D. And I hope I'm not infuriating you, those of you who do like 3D, but here's why I'm not a big fan. It's always struck me as weird that some cinematographer and art director and director out there went through painstaking efforts to bring these beautiful, gorgeous, rich images to us on a movie screen. And the first thing we do when we walk into a movie theater, put some tinted film over our eyes and wash out the color and deaden the color. I've never understood that. And it's irritating. There was one time I watched a movie in 3D where I thought, oh, this movie benefited from 3D, and that was Avatar. However, once I watched the movie at home, because I bought the Blu-ray of Avatar, once I watched the movie at home without 3D, I went, oh, I didn't like it any less without the 3D glasses, so I guess the 3D glasses were pointless. And it's funny because a lot of friends of mine we had this conversation 6 or 7 months ago anyway, where it's like they were starting to tell me they had the same experience, that they really used to like 3D, but then they realized, oh no, I didn't really like the 3D, because then I watched it at home without 3D, and I liked the movie just as much. What it is that they saw a movie in 3D and they liked the movie. So they attributed liking the movie to the fact that it was in 3D when really the 3D had nothing to do with it. The two best examples of 3D I've ever seen, one is Avatar, and the other is this little movie with Paul Bettany called Priest. Do you remember that? And that one wasn't even shot in 3D. That one was done post-conversion 3D. But the 3D in it, they took like a year to do the post-conversion on the 3D in Priest. And that movie looked, from a 3D point of view, it was great. But yeah, I think 3D is a useless gimmick. It's just another excuse to charge more for the price of a movie ticket when you go to the theater. And we've been seeing fewer and fewer screens now being taken up with 3D movies. And I celebrate that. And I'm sorry, if you're somebody who likes 3D, I regret that. I regret that you're getting less and less of something that you really like. But for me, I just think I'd rather those screens be used up with other movies I actually want to see. And here's the funny thing too. When it comes to like press screenings, a lot of times we would go to press screenings and the studio would have two different screens playing the same movie. And they say, hey, do you want 3D or 2D? And a couple of years ago, a lot of people go, well, I'll go watch the 3D one. But I remember the last movie I was at, I won't say which one it was. It was Spider-Man. Anyway, the last movie I was at, where they had a 3D screen and a non-3D screen, the non-3D screen filled up quick, and there was like tons of seats still available in the 3D one. You could start to see that shift. Even the critics didn't want to go watch it in 3D now. They want to go watch it in 2D. So that's just my opinion, but the issue with 3D is much like everything else in the world of film. It's subjective. Like I said, right now, there might be some of you guys watching me who are like, no, John, I love 3D. For me, it enhances the experience. That's awesome. I'm just telling you, for me, it doesn't. For me, it takes away from the experience. Every time I'm in a 3D movie, I'm 5 minutes in the movie and I start wishing I could take those damn glasses off. Maybe that'll change once they get the technology perfected of non-glasses required 3D movie screens. Once they do that, maybe my mind will change. But until then, that's kind of the way I think about things. All right, we got 2 more questions to get through, and then we're going to get to the live questions from you guys who are watching live. And the next question, a little bit of Justice League action here, comes to us from Wes Pritchard, who writes, "Hi, John. On watching the new Justice League trailer and seeing Clark appear at the beginning, numerous reviewers have said that this is a dream. But what if this is at the end, after he's returned, and is made to look like it's just a dream through the edit?" Okay, well, I was just talking about that, right? In the Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer. The trailer makes it look like Luke is talking to Rey, but maybe he's not. Maybe that's trailer trickery. It makes it look like Snoke is talking to Kylo, but maybe he's not. Maybe that's just trailer trickery. It makes it look like Rey is saying to Kylo, I need somebody to show me my place in this. But maybe she's not. Maybe that's trailer trickery. Well, this has been a big point of discussion ever since that newest Justice League trailer came out. And we get this scene right here where Lois Lane comes out of the farmhouse into the cornfield and sees Clark standing there, and he starts talking about her ring. The assumption is that that is a dream sequence. The way it's edited certainly makes it look like it's a dream sequence. But, as a lot of people have been asking, what if it's not? What if that's trailer trickery? What if this is a scene that's actually near the end of the movie? Okay, I got 2 thoughts on this. Thought number 1. It really did feel like a dream sequence. Like not even I'm not even talking about the Lois waking up part in bed. I mean, as she's standing there on the deck talking to him, that felt like a dream sequence to me. So I think it's a dream sequence. But here's the second. This is the more important thing. And tell me what you guys think. I will be pissed if that scene in the trailer is actually like near the end of the film and it's real life. Because if it is, you just revealed one of the most emotional, one of the most pivotal, one of the most linchpin parts of the movie you just revealed in the trailer so you could play a little trailer trickery. Like, I'm not one who often complains about studios showing too much in trailers. I'm not. But this would be an egregious violation of that. If that was a real scene, and it's an important scene, and it's actually Lois coming face to face with Clark again for the first time, and he turns around to her, and you put that in the trailer, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be pissed. Now, I don't think that's what they did. I think Warner Brothers is too smart for that. But yeah, you're hell right. I'm gonna be pissed off if they show that scene, that pivotal, important, emotional scene in the trailer. That'd be bad. That'd be bad. I am convinced it's a dream sequence, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see till the movie comes out. Okay, so I got some of you guys in the live chat where Pablo is saying, it is a dream. Clark wouldn't go and check on the fields as soon as he gets back home. Yeah, Clark comes back from the dead, and the first thing he goes, I should go check on the corn. I got to see how the corn's doing. Very good there. Raziel saying, I would be pissed if it's not in the movie. Well, obviously it's in the movie. It just should be a part of the dream sequence in the movie. Isaac Barlow writes, they gave away Doomsday. So, yeah, but giving away Doomsday, you're just showing the villain of the film. So I don't consider that. That's just a setup. Showing Doomsday is just a setup to the third act of the film. Showing the first moment that Lois and Clark come face to face after she thought he was dead, that's a different thing. That is not the same. That is not anywhere near the same as showing Doomsday. Okay, anyway, let's move on now to the last question. Then we'll get over to the live chat board. Sorry, I'm getting caught up in the conversation you guys are having in the chat board. All right, and the last mail-in question today comes to us from Jonathan Spiroff, who writes, hey, John, very proud of your work. Love coming to each day. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate that. How do you think the performance of Blade Runner 2049 will affect Denis Villeneuve and Legendary's approach to Dune? You could market it as a Star Wars, but I imagine Denis would want to create his own mythic tone with Dune like we saw him do with 2049. Well, thanks a lot for the question. Of course, this is all piggybacking on the fact, for those of you who didn't hear, that Blade Runner 2049 underperformed at the box office opening weekend. Now, for some films, a $30 million weekend ain't that bad. For a film that cost reportedly between $150 and $170 million to make, a $31 million, just going to say it, a $31 million opening for a movie that cost that much is a bomb of an opening weekend. It's a bomb. Now, that doesn't mean that Blade Runner 2049 is a bomb. We got to wait. We got to wait to see how it all plays out. What kind of legs does it have? How does it play internationally? All that kind of stuff. Because by the end of the day, maybe the movie makes $400 million worldwide and breaks even, makes a little bit of profit. We'll have to wait and see. I just saying that the opening weekend for a movie that costs $150 to $170 million, plus all the marketing that they put out, and they put out a hell of a lot of marketing for this movie, that's not good enough. That is a bomb. So it's a fair question that Jonathan is asking. Will this affect how Legendary and Denis Villeneuve decide to proceed with Dune? Couple things to keep in mind here. The opening weekend performance of Blade Runner has nothing to do with Denis Villeneuve. That was not his fault at all. All the director can do is make the best movie possible. And now, while I'm not doing backflips over Blade Runner 2049 like a lot of people, I think it's a very good movie. I think he did a very good job with that film. And that's all you can ask a director to do. A lot of people are still on, and you hear me talk about this, but it's important. A lot of film fans are still under this mistaken idea that the directors have something to do with the marketing. They don't. 99% of the time, the directors have nothing to do with the marketing. That is a studio decision. The studios hire marketers to do that. It's up to their marketing teams and their PR teams, and they put those things together. Quite often, the directors don't even get a say in what the marketing does. So if Blade Runner 2049 suffered at the box office opening weekend, I will contend right now it is not Denis Villeneuve's fault whatsoever. He made a solid movie that people really like. That's all he can do. If there's any blame to be laid, it's on two things. Number one, they overestimated the popularity of the Blade Runner name. Number two, they just made the marketing look a little too cyberpunkish. Remember, I didn't like the first trailer at all. I thought the second trailer was good. I did. That got me interested in the movie. But aside from the second trailer, nothing else about the Blade Runner marketing really super appealed to me. It was just too stylized. And you're not going to appeal to a big audience by putting over-stylized stuff in your marketing. And after watching Blade Runner 2049, I realized you didn't need to make the marketing all stylized. There's a lot of very good substance that you could have communicated to the audience to give the audience a better idea of what the movie was they were going to get and might have attracted a few more people. So, is there some culprits in Blade Runner underperforming in its opening weekend? Yes, but none of those culprits are Denis Villeneuve. I say there are two culprits. Number one, the studio for over-evaluating or overestimating how popular the Blade Runner IP is. Mistake number two is I think they took the wrong direction with the marketing. But it is not Denis Villeneuve's fault. If anything, I think the way that they marketed Blade Runner 2049 will give Legendary some pause about how they market Dune, but I think they're totally comfortable letting Denis Villeneuve make whatever Dune movie he wants to make because they know he's going to make a great movie. He's going to make a great movie. And they're going to trust him with that. They just need to make better decisions when it comes to how they market it. All right, guys, I ran a little bit of overtime, but I'm now time of the show to go to your live Twitter questions. Once again, if you got a live Twitter question, tweet to me at John Campea. Start firing in those tweets, and let's check it out here. Let's go to the first tweet today, and the first tweet today comes to us from, if I can get this screen down, there we go. Punk Y2J writes, John, do you think Superman will be against the Justice League when he is first resurrected? If so, your thoughts. Hey, look, that's a popular opinion, and it's one you can't discount. It's certainly possible. Batman had to fight Superman. I don't think Superman would make the same mistakes with or underestimate Batman again. So it might take the entire Justice League fighting him. However, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think he's going to come back. I don't think he'll be himself at first when he comes back, much like he wasn't himself at first when he came back in the comic books either. But do I think he will be fighting the Justice League? I don't think so. Now, I only say that by like 52% to 48%, okay? I'm not sitting here completely convinced he's not fighting Justice League. No, not completely convinced. But if I had to say which side of that 50% line do I fall in, I personally fall on the side that I don't think he's going to be fighting them. I think there's going to be something wrong with him. I don't think he's going to be quite himself yet. But is it full out epic life and death battle between him and the rest of the Justice League? I don't think they're going to do that yet. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And the next one comes to us from RockFan180, who writes, John, is there a classic famous movie ending that you dislike? I've never been a big fan of the end of Citizen Kane. You're not alone in that. I've talked to a number of people who are late adopters, and being a late adopter is great. A late adopter is like, you haven't seen one of the great classic movies yet, and I envy you because you get to sit down and watch it for the first time. But for late adopters of Citizen Kane, if you're a cinephile and you're a movie fanatic, you've grown up hearing how the ending of Citizen Kane is one of the great endings of all time, right? And then you watch it and it's Rosebud. That's a solid ending. But if you were expecting the greatest twist ending that something only M. Night Shyamalan could ever possibly dream of, you're watching that for the first time and going, oh, that's a little bit of a letdown. I mean, it's no Usual Suspects. I mean, you know what I mean? So I like the ending of it, but I could totally see anybody watching that movie for the first time, having spent their whole lives hearing about how amazing the ending of Citizen Kane is, that maybe it would disappoint them a little bit. As far as other ones go, man, I can't think. Maybe if I thought about it a little bit longer, I could think of some, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any endings to movies that people consider classic that let me down. Okay. Let's see. Let's move on now to Clay19, who writes, which directors are on the verge of striking out? I don't know. I would have to sit down and really look through that. Tim Burton. He's put out a couple of stinkers in a row. Tim Burton needs a good movie. And he's got Dumbo coming up. But like his Alice in Wonderland was terrible. That like vampire movie thing he did was terrible. That, what was the last one he did? Big Eyes was not so great. I actually didn't mind Big Eyes as much as most other people, but I've got a good friend of mine, John Schnepp, who loves Tim Burton. Hated Big Eyes. Like, I know a lot of people really hate Big Eyes. He's put out a few stinkers in a row. If he strikes out with Dumbo, a big budget Disney film, which Alice in Wonderland made big money, but that movie sucked. So I think he might be getting close. We'll have to wait and see. Next one comes to us from Hogue Filmmaker, who writes, John, do you think J.J. Abrams will want Rian Johnson to help write Episode 9? He might. He might go to Rian Johnson for a pass later on, but they've already announced that J.J. and, oh my gosh, I forget who else. J.J.'s got a co-writer for Episode 9 already, so I'm sure they'll probably do the first pass themselves, but maybe at some point they'll bring in Rian Johnson to take a look at things. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. RockFan180 writes, John, would a film about the 2016 election be a good idea? I definitely think it is, but afraid it'll feel like an extended SNL skit. Thoughts? At some point, yes. Right now, no. There's nothing good that would come out of doing that right now. Maybe about 10 years from now. Maybe about 10 years from now when we got a little bit more distance between us and the event. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Punk Y2J, who writes, John, hey John, will the reactions to Ezra Miller's Flash and Justice League help push the Flashpoint movie into production yet? Maybe a director. Well, look, I think Warner Brothers already has their plan for Flashpoint. I don't think they're just waiting to see how Justice League does. I think they already know what they want to do with Flashpoint. Now, you could make the argument, yes, John, but there were 15 other films Warner Brothers has announced that they had plans for that aren't happening anymore. Yeah. True. But we are now living in an era where Warner Brothers has done their reevaluation. And after doing their reevaluation, they came up with Flashpoint. So I think that we will get that movie. I already think they've got their plan for it. I actually think they already have their director. And I think they already know everything they're doing with it. They're just not revealing it until after Justice League. But I honestly think they've already got all their ducks in a row when it comes to that. All right, next one comes to us from Last Journey, who writes, John, do you think we will see any heroes surpass Superman in power level? Shazam, Flash, who in the comics arguably are. Well, they are and they aren't. Like, when it comes down to it, though, and DC had to put together Injustice Gods Among Us, who is the one guy who could legitimately overthrow all the superheroes, either kill the ones that weren't with him, or get obedience from the ones that were obedient to him? It was only one guy, Superman. That's it. It was Superman. Now, granted, Injustice Gods Among Us is an Elseworlds kind of title. But when DC, in allowing this story to be put together, had to think who's the one guy that could either overthrow all the superheroes or have all the rest of the superheroes bend a knee to him and pledge their allegiance to him, there was only one guy, and that's Superman. Will we see a superhero surpass that? Well, we already know they've powered Superman down quite a bit for the movies, and you needed to. We already saw one superhero beat him in a fight. We saw Batman beat him in a fight. I don't think that would happen again, now that Superman knows not to underestimate Bruce Wayne. So I don't think that would happen again. So no, I don't think they're going to have another superhero that is more powerful than Superman. I think they've powered Superman down. To have a hero who's even more powerful than Superman, you'd have to get into some ridiculous stuff in the movies that I don't think they're ready to do or that they want to do. All right, let's bring up another one here. Let's see. This one comes from C. Corbett, going back to the Star Wars trailer. John, were you surprised to see Snoke in the Last Jedi trailer? Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I was kind of expecting to see a little bit more of him. We only got to see really the one shot. I thought we would see more. Now, we did get to hear his voice at the beginning of the trailer, and that was great. And we did get to see his face in non-holographic form, and that was great. I actually thought we would see him a little bit more. I'm not disappointed that we didn't see him more. I just thought we would get to see him a little bit more. Let's see. Tarek, how do you pronounce this? Tarek FTT writes, have you seen what some chains are doing? Charging $25 for the first large format showing of big movies and calling it a fan event. Hey, look, theaters can do whatever they want. Theaters can do whatever they want. If they have an early event and they're calling it a special fan event, they can charge whatever they want. You don't have to pay it. You don't have to. Go to another theater. Go to another theater or wait 12 hours. If you really want to see it that bad that night and you want to go to that movie theater, well, then you kind of just justified the theater change. I mean, it's about supply and demand, right? It's about supply and demand. I don't like it. I'm with you. I don't like it. But it's not as if they're forcing you to do it. I mean, you can just wait 12 hours or go to another movie theater. So I don't like it. But I mean, right now I'm not terribly upset about it. All right, let's take a couple more. M. The Gourd writes, John, hey John, since you saw Thor Ragnarok, are you allowed to share its runtime? I saw a rumor a while back that it's around 100 minutes. You know what? Here's the thing. I did a report that Taika Waititi himself said this is going to be the shortest MCU movie. And I believe I heard it was going to run in at like 90 minutes. I didn't time. I wish I had paid attention. I did not time it. I didn't time it. But I'm going to tell you this. It felt longer than that. I actually think I think it got closer to 2 hours. I think Thor Ragnarok is close to 2 hours. I cannot say that officially, though, because I didn't check my watch. I didn't do any of that, and I feel stupid that I didn't. But it's a good question. Keep your eyes open for that. Let's see. Deet C writes, hey, John, can you see why fans aren't into Star Trek Discovery? For me, very unlikable main character and lazy show writing with respect. Disagree. Completely disagree. I think it's a fascinating lead character. I think it's a fascinating captain character. And I think it's very aggressive writing. I think it's extremely aggressive writing. I think the show is spectacular. And it's difficult for me to say that because you remember, for months, I crap talked Star Trek Discovery. I talked about how this show's a stupid idea. I talked about all that kind of stuff. But I got to call it like I see it. And I watched that first Star Trek Discovery and I went, damn, This is some real good TV. This is some real good TV. And that doesn't mean you need to like it. That's fine. But I reject, from my personal point of view, I reject this notion that it's an unlikable lead character. I think the lead character is fascinating. And not this stereotypical good girl next door Star Trek character that we're kind of used to. To me, look, I love The Next Generation. It's my all-time favorite Star Trek show. I love that show. But let's face it, every single character on The Next Generation was the exact same when it came to their moral ethics. Everybody's like happy and kind of funny, but deadly good at their job. And like even Picard, when caught off guard, was kind of like that. I love, and the show is awesome. I love Star Trek The Next Generation. If you've ever heard me talk about that show, you know how much homage I have to that show. I love it. But I think this character is great. I think the writing has been sharp and crisp and aggressive and bold to do things that, that nobody saw coming. So it's great that you have that opinion. Your opinion is every bit as valid as mine. But I gotta tell you, I reject that notion. I really do. But that's why TV is awesome. That's why TV and movies are awesome, because we can see the same thing and have different experiences with it. So that's great. Let's see, last question of the day. And this one will come to us from Trevor Valentine, who writes, John, how much involvement do you think the Russo brothers will have in the MCU after the 2 Avengers films? Maybe Cap 4? Hope not. I love the Russo brothers. Now, you guys know I've gotten together with the Russo brothers a number of occasions. They've come into my studio like 3 times. I love those guys. I think they're great. And I think they've done great stuff with their MCU properties. But if you've watched me for any period of time, you know that I don't like any director staying on one franchise or one property for too long. I think it starts to eat away at their creativity. I think to stay sharp, they need to move on. I think it happened with Sam Raimi. I think we even started to see it happen with Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan, one of the top 3 working directors today. And I think the reason that The Dark Knight Rises is the worst of the Batman films, and it's not bad, but it's clearly the weakest one, is because he was just staying on one film, one franchise for too long. I really hope after the Avengers films are done that they step away at least for 3 or 4 years to keep themselves sharp, to work on other projects, and then come back. But I really do hope they take a break, because that's just the way my philosophy when it comes to this kind of stuff. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Hey, look, I'm going to mention this. I shouldn't, because tomorrow the audience is going to be half, but yesterday we set a brand new record for live viewers for the John Campea Show. We almost hit 1,300 live viewers yesterday. Today, we've broken the record again. We're just under 1,500 live viewers. Amazing. Thank you guys so much for your support and for being here and joining in the conversation. And you know what's funny? I take great pride in this. Seriously, guys, I take great pride in this, and you should too. I had a couple of fans write me yesterday who were relatively new viewers, right? And they commented, 2 people, not 20, but 2 people, individual of each other, wrote to me and tell me that one of the things that they were really impressed about our channel is that our fan community is way better than most YouTube channel or chat boards I usually go in. I actually had people comment on it. It's like, holy crap, I was reading through the chat and through the comment section, and there were hardly anybody trolling each other or name calling. There were some, but it said hardly anybody. Like, everybody's just having some good discussion and debate. That's a credit to you guys. Thank you guys so much for making film fandom a more healthy place to be. We can argue, we can debate, we can discuss, we can have differences of opinion, like Star Trek Discovery stuff, right? But we can debate and discuss and have differences of opinion, understanding that we're still brothers. We're still fellow film fans. We're still fellow TV fans. And I got to tell you guys, I got goosebumps when I got those emails. I am so proud of our community and of you guys for how you manage and handle yourselves in the chat section. Thank you guys so much. And so that'll do it for me for today, guys. Don't forget, 1 o'clock later today, Star Wars Talk Tuesday. If you're into Star Wars, come on back at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to do this all again, but we're just going to do nothing but talk Star Wars. Make sure you guys have clicked on the subscribe button, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you like these videos, guys, please make sure, go on down there for a second, click the thumbs up button, make sure you leave a comment, share the video around, do whatever you need to do. That'll do it for me for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.